Today I'm going to be recommending specific romance books to read for Valentine's Day. I asked on my Instagram stories what romances you wanted to read, any specific tropes, characters, genres. So I got you all covered for everyone who is so ready to read romance on Valentine's Day. I even have this cute little cardigan with hearts on it, but I realized you can't even see it with my hair, and just know that the hearts are behind there. So the first request was for a romantasy, and I have to recommend an author, and that is Grace Draven. I feel like Grace Draven actually ruined me for romantasy because I keep picking them up thinking that it's gonna give me Grace Draven, and it doesn't. Grace Draven writes the most romantic books, and they're all fantasy. I've always said that she writes fantasy romance the way that historical romance writers write. They're not spice driven. They're more like yearning and longing, glances and chaste touches. Then eventually there is spice, but that's not what's driving the tension. So ones from her that I would recommend. We have Radiance, which is my all-time favorite. That one is like friends to lovers, arranged marriage, he's a monster, she's a princess. Entreat Me, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it's the best Beauty and the Beast retelling that I've read. Phoenix Unbound, which is set in a fantasy world that's kind of like Roman gladiator vibes, and it is an enemies to lovers romance between a gladiator and a witch. But I definitely think if you are looking for romantasy that is more romantic focused, more tension, that's built by yearning and desire, Grace Draven is your girl. Also, I just realized that this is the first romance recommendation video that I filmed in a very long time, and I feel very happy and excited to be doing a romance video. I really just got burnt out on romance books for a while. I kind of needed to take a break from them, but this year I'm ready. I'm stepping back into my romance era, and hopefully I will have so many more books to recommend you. But yeah, I was just getting very burnt out on them. Honestly, last year I was getting burnt out a ton in every aspect of my life. The burnout was crazy. And one of the things that's actually been helping me is Magic Mind, who is sponsoring today's video. So these are the Magic Mind performance shots that I have been taking. They have so many great benefits that I've really been loving. I actually haven't taken one today, so let me crack it open. It's actually still very early in the day, which is great because I like to take these in the morning. What do these do? These performance shots help enhance focus, motivation, clarity, productivity, all while reducing stress as well, which, you know, your girl has needed. I have needed something to help me. They provide 100% of your daily vitamin C and D, and they have time release caffeine. So instead of causing like a big surge in energy where you later crash, it has ingredients for sustained energy, so you can continue to feel energized and productive throughout the day. So those performance shots are ones that I have been taking ever since they first sponsored me last year, but they sent me something new this time, and that is their sleep elixir, which helps you fall into a faster, deeper sleep, which again is something that I really needed. I have been very stressed out, staying up late, wrecking my sleep schedule, and this has really helped me to just quiet my thoughts and be able to fall asleep easier. Something that Magic Mind is really focusing on right now is this term called mental wealth, which I had never heard of, but I actually think it sounds like exactly what I think I've been trying to articulate I want this year. And basically their definition of mental wealth is that it's about building habits that strengthen your resilience for tomorrow, like a mental savings account. So you're like depositing into your mental savings account and building up better habits. Something else great that they do is that for every bottle purchase, they donate to mental health charities. And for the first time, they are selling the mental performance shot and the sleep elixir in a pack for 45% off with my link. Let 2025 be the year of mental wealth investments. And thank you to Magic Mind for sponsoring today's video. All right, the next romance request that I got is for an epic love story like Logan and Veronica from Veronica Mars. When I tell you I got this one and I sat there and I thought about it for so long because Logan and Veronica is my all-time favorite TV show couple. They are perfect. They are perfect. And I was like, oh my God, how can I even recommend a book that is as epic and up there as Logan and Veronica. So if you don't know, Logan and Veronica, their relationship timeline in the show is basically he was dating her best friend, so they were kind of friends, but then her best friend was murdered and they became enemies and like rivals and like really hated each other, but they had this amazing banter. Circumstances happened that kind of threw them together where they had to lean on each other, and in doing that they realized that they had a lot in common and they became friends again, and then the kiss happened and they fell in love and it was history from there, although there's a lot of other rockiness going on. Their romance is like so up and down, it's a roller coaster. So I was racking my brain trying to think of another romance book that was such a roller coaster, but also I think that had a lot of build up and like had that they started as kind of rivals, turned into friends, then fell in love into like a deeper love. And the one that I thought of is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. This was one of my favorite romances of last year. So this one is, the way that it's pitched is kind of like a When Harry Met Sally romance, where you have these two characters who are meeting several times over the course of many years, and all these interactions are bad and they just don't have a good impression of each other. They don't like each other. On one particular occasion that they meet, it is like the perfect, or I guess unperfect, moment of their lives where they're both at rock bottom. They've both just been dumped, had their hearts broken, and they meet again and realize they're both kind of going through the same thing, so they lean on each other and develop this really great friendship, and then that leads them into falling in love. But it is very like messy and a roller coaster, and things change over time. Their relationship has a lot of ups and downs. I'm also recommending this for someone asked for a foodie romance. The hero in this book is a chef, so there's a lot of descriptions of him cooking food. I love this one with my whole heart, and I feel good. I feel good comparing them to Logan and Veronica. It is a very epic romance. The next request was for a cozy romance in an isolated setting with some spice. And for this one, I'm gonna recommend Forged by Magic, which is a cozy fantasy romance that is about this woman who is a mercenary and she was sent to this magical island. Before she can even get there, her ship crashes and she washes up on shore and realizes that she's trapped on this island until another boat can come, and ends up meeting this elf guy, and he immediately knows that she is a mercenary and is like, I want nothing to do with you. Get off of this island, but then realizes she can't leave. So it does have that kind of isolated setting where they're stuck on this island together. There's a lot of like banter, rivals, and there's also a really fun like games element because there is a festival going on the island where everyone is competing in these games and the winner gets a wish granted. It is cozy. It has like a cozy vibe to it, and there's spice. I really enjoyed that one. The next request was for a romance with no third act breakup, and the first one that came to my mind is one that I read recently, and that is Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt. This one is about two comedians who fall in love, and I loved this one because they are friends, so it is friends to lovers. They're also having to fake date in like a PR relationship, like a celebrity PR relationship. But what I thought was so enjoyable about it is from literally page one, they are already in love with each other. They're just such big dumb idiots. They don't know that the other one is in love with them too, so they're suppressing their feelings. And I don't know, I just really love that. But there's also no third act breakup. There is like a conflict in the third act, but the way that they handled it was very mature. There was great communication. I really enjoyed how they like tackled problems, and it just felt very realistic. The next request was for a romance with autism rep, and I have two. One of them I read very recently, and that was The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Lees. This is a Christmas romance, and it was very, very cute. It takes place in a bookstore, and it's about this guy who's very grumpy and this girl who's very sunshine, but the heroine is autistic, and I found the autism rep in here to be very realistic and like true to my experiences. And then the other one that I would recommend is A Girl Like Her by Talia Hibbert, which I actually read many years ago. And what's funny is I read this before I ever knew that I was autistic. I remember feeling so seen by the book and being like, wow, I really relate to this main character. I wonder why I was not clocking it. But this one takes place in a small town, and it's about this girl who is kind of like outcasted in the town because of an incident that happened with her ex-boyfriend who was very beloved in this small town. So like very small town drama. And then this guy moves in next door to her and really just works overtime to get to know her. He's very interested in her and is like, I want to help you, I want to be in your life. And he actually discovers that she loves comic books, so they have kind of like a comic book club together. It was very cute. The next request was for a Sapphic historical romance that's not Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, which I probably would have recommended if you did not say that, because I love that book. So if anyone hasn't read it, I recommend it. But if you want something else, I would recommend The Perks of Loving a Wallflower by Erica Ridley. This one was so cute. I actually love this whole series, but this one specifically was very, very cute. It technically is the second book in the series, but if you really just want the Sapphic romance, you can read it without reading the first book. But essentially the heroine comes from a family of orphans who are all basically like criminals, and her specific skill set is that she is a master of disguise, and her latest assignment has her trying to uncover this military grade cipher and uncover this centuries old mystery. But it turns out that her client is this beautiful woman, and she is immediately so smitten with her, but she only knows her in her disguise as a man. So what does she do? She says, I need to meet her as a woman. So she joins the girls' blue stocking club in order to befriend her and get close to her. And it is so, so cute. I really love this one. The next request was for a book that gives "And They Were Roommates" vibes. So for this one, I have to recommend Funny Story by Emily Henry. I know you're probably sick of hearing this book be recommended by everybody. I am everybody. I'm recommending this book if you haven't read it. This book basically feels like New Girl. So if you love New Girl and you haven't read it yet, what are you doing? But basically, if you don't know, this romance is about two people who their partners decide to leave them for each other. So because they're both heartbroken and miserable, they decide to live together and they become friends and they try to help each other get over their exes, and it is just so good. It's so, so good. And the hero in this book definitely reminded me of Nick Miller, and there were so many different like specific call outs to New Girl that I just really appreciated. The next request is for a romance when you're tired of the same plot line and want something unique. Now this one is gonna be a hear me out, okay? This is a hear me out because while technically it's a romance, it's also horror and it's also sci-fi, and that is Thrum by Meg Smitherman. This one would also fit the request that I got for a romance with sci-fi vibes that takes place in space. So this one is about a girl and her crew, and they're out in deep space, deep space, where nobody else is. There's no planets, there's no anything. And all of a sudden, on their radar, they pick up a ship out in the middle of nowhere. And the ship calls them and says, hello, my name is Dorian. Who are you? So they decide to board this mysterious Dorian's ship, and it all goes from there. It all goes from there. I loved it. I loved it. You guys know I love horror, so a romance that actually involves genuine horror, I'm here for. There were some scenes in this book that were very scary. If you don't like horror, ignore this recommendation. But if you like horror and you want a horror that has romance in it, that also takes place in space, check out Thrum. Try it out. It's definitely unique. It'll definitely give you something different. The next request that I got from multiple people, the same exact request, and that is a romance with Sapphic yearning. You guys know Sapphic yearning has my whole heart, and one that I have to recommend is Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane. And I need to tell you, if you have been overlooking this book because it is a Christmas romance, stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing and read this book right away, because there is no book that has the Sapphic yearning like this one has. Alison Cochrane invented Sapphic yearning, actually. Did you know that? So this one is following two girls who meet one Christmas and they have one night together that is beautiful and perfect and amazing, and then something happens that splits them apart. Now it is a year later, and the main character has a friend that she knows who's this guy, and he comes to her one day and is like, hey, in order to get my inheritance, I have to get married. You know, the age-old story. Everyone who needs their inheritance has to get married. Who ever heard of a single person getting their inheritance? Ugh. So he's like, hey, I need you to help me out and come home with me for Christmas so we can convince my family that we're getting married so that I can get my money. So she goes home with him for Christmas, meets his family, but specifically meets his sister. Guess who his sister is? That woman that she fell in love with one day a year ago. And now it's messy. Now it's messy. Now there's yearning because the sister is like, oh my God, this girl that I had this amazing night with is now marrying my brother. And the main character is like, oh my God, I have to pretend that I am in love with her brother when really I'm in love with her, but I can't tell her. It's so messy. There's so much yearning. There's so much angst. and I was obsessed with it. I was obsessed with it. It doesn't even matter that it takes place over Christmas. It could take place anytime. It is just a great romance. So if you are someone who you're like, I'm not really into Christmas romances, check it out. Just try it. Just try it. Okay, the next request I have is for a queer romance that is indie and contemporary. And then someone else asked for one that has a plus size heroine or love interest. So for both of these, I'm gonna recommend Zenny by Rebecca Weatherspoon. This is another arranged marriage situation, once again with an inheritance. What I'm wondering is, where's my inheritance and who do I have to marry to get it? No one is answering. No one is telling me. So in this one, Zenny turns up. She's ready to hear what her inheritance is gonna be, and she finds out in her aunt's will, she said that in order for Zenny to claim the inheritance, she has to marry this Scottish man. Even in death, her aunt is playing matchmaker. And I love this one. It was so fun. This is one of the few romances that I've read where both the heroine and the hero are bi. Like I said, the hero is also plus size. And if you want to read about a plus size Scottish man getting pegged, go to Kindle right now, press download, you will thank me later. The last request that I'm gonna give a recommendation for is a romance with the best witty banter. And then someone else asked for a paranormal romance with soulmates. And the one that I have to recommend is Mating the Huntress by Talia Hibbert. This one is so fun. It is the only paranormal romance that Talia Hibbert has ever read, and I need her to get back to it immediately. So this one is about the heroine who is a werewolf hunter, and the hero is a werewolf. And one day he walks into her coffee shop and immediately is like, oh my God, that's my mate. That is my mate. That is my soulmate. I'm in love with her. I'm obsessed with her. I need her to go on a date with me. And she sees him and immediately goes, that's a werewolf. I'm gonna kill him. I kill him. I'm gonna stab him in the heart. And so he asks her on a date, and she comes over to his house for the date, and they start kissing, and immediately she starts to try to kill him. And he's like, whoa, whoa, she's getting a little freaky. What's happening here? And he falls even more in love with her. It is so funny. The banter is great. I remember actually laughing while I read this book. It's so fun. Like I said, I need Talia Hibbert desperately to write more paranormal romances. So those are gonna be all of my romance recommendations. I hope you guys are able to find something in this video to read on Valentine's Day or just in general. So if you made it to the end of this video, leave me a heart emoji. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!